Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to have a discussion about content frequency in Dead by Daylight. It's long been a huge problem I've had with the game where basically just not enough things change from patch to patch to keep me like super excited or invested. And that's kind of how I felt about the 10th anniversary patch. I do think Jason is pretty cool and I'm excited to actually try to learn how to play him properly anyway. And that's all great, but the actual patch itself, like I said, it didn't really change much of anything. No perks were changed, there's no new map. There's really just nothing else aside from the new content that's really different. And typically when I, see updates of any kind, especially one that's the 10th anniversary, I would like to see, bigger meta changes, things, to keep the veteran players more invested in the game. Doesn't apply too much as people that are newer to the game because they haven't gotten bored of a stale meta or anything like that. So this is really for people that have been playing it for, a decent amount of time. You don't even have to be a veteran. You just have to be basically not a brand new player. And I think everyone appreciates, more content. So I was looking at the patch notes, yesterday and I was like, okay, this is really not changing very much. That's whatever. And then someone showed me this comment from Mandy on the actual official forums, and she said there are no new plans to have live design changes during new content releases. History has shown us that this is more problematic in getting feedback on new content as well as the changes. So I think I know what's going on here, and I want to basically just offer my feedback here respectfully that I think that this is a very bad idea. I think what happened here is it's the Crossu patch is what screwed all this up. So for those who don't know, during the original Crossu PTB, there was, the Crossu, they had new killer, new survivor, new perks. So they had to worry about all that. A lot of perks were changed on top of that, and they just fundamentally changed how the entire game works all in the same patch. So they basically had legitimate anti-camp and anti-tunnel and anti-slug and anti-everything, mechanics built into the core actual game. No perks, just this is how the game works now. And they were absolutely huge, massive, crazy changes, in addition to all of the other new stuff that was happening. And of course, because all that stuff was a train wreck, they are now associating that with, well, we just won't change. We won't do changes anymore when there's new content. But I think that's a massive overreaction. There is a perfectly reasonable area in the middle between new perks, new killers, new survivors, new map, new mechanics, new anti-slug, new anti-tunnel, and nothing. You can find a nice in-between there and still have not everyone freaking out and make it so you can still get feedback on the things that were changed. So making drastic changes like that, yeah, that's scary. That requires an entire PTB just for that. Otherwise, you can't tell if the new content that you're bringing is stronger or weaker depending on the new crazy changes you've made to the base game. So that I understand. But in terms of just not adding anything to the game when there's new content, that's a bad idea. So I think, I don't know if they do. I don't know how they're internally structured or whatever, but I think there should be one or two people. They have a lot of employees. There should be one or two people every single patch that just, here's what you do. You just go to Nightlight, you go to community stats, you go to perks and builds, go to most used killer perks or whatever, just scroll to the bottom, go all the way to the bottom, and just pick some of these and just change them. That's it. Just change some numbers on them. That's all you have to do. And that will keep people so much more invested in the game. You're just like, okay, let's look at Unbound. People aren't using this. It's very underused. So, okay, let's make it for the next 50 seconds and you gain 10% haste for 12 seconds. Let's see how that works. Is that going to make it OP or anything? No, probably not. Let's just do that. Just do that 10 times per patch. That's all you have to do. Just make it so there's possibly something new and exciting to play with every time there's an update, and I promise people will feel less burned out with the game overall. It's such an easy thing to do, which is why it's so frustrating to see comments like this, where they're just saying well, we're just not going to do that now because one time in one patch we were overwhelmed because we put too much shit in. It's just you created a problem yourself and then fix the problem by making the game worse by not changing things. It doesn't make any sense to me. And like I said, this is such a low effort thing to change. You don't even have to recode anything. You just go and change a number. That should take 10 seconds. There's no way to break the game if you make this 10% haste. There's just no way. There's no possible way. Even with behavior spaghetti code, there's no way that can break the game. So just stuff like that, just simple number tweaks to try to just shift up the meta a little bit just to see, if we can just do something a bit different. We're really just not asking for very much here. I bring this comparison up occasionally because it's another game I'm very, very fond of. Path of Exile. Path of Exile is a free-to-play game with a much, much, much smaller company than Behaviour, and they release on the same 3-month content cycle. That's how they do things. Now, we compare Dead by Daylight patch notes to Path of Exile patch notes. This was just the last Path of Exile leak from like 3 months ago. So remember the patch notes that we had at the beginning, which were, it was like 2 pages. Here's just the Path of Exile update. Okay? Do we see the difference? It's the same content cycle. Like, we compare that to this. That's it. It's over. Like, and most of it is just bug fixes. Like, it's just such a stark difference. Like, I don't know what the excuse is for just not just changing old perks. I really don't get it. We had like one patch, I remember. It seems like it was so long ago, but we had one patch that changed a bunch of shit, and it really mixed up the meta. Now, I believe that came with Colubrine Eruption Overcharge running rampant because they overtuned that. But you know what? It was something different. And although that meta was super killer-sided and unfair, it was something different. And that was the one patch I remember in recent history where they actually looked at some other perks that were not seeing as much use, and they just tweaked the numbers to make them better. Like, that's just the most frustrating part. Like, you don't have to, like, rethink how the entire perk works. You just have to make numbers different. And they don't even have to be so much better that they're like OP or anything. People will gravitate towards things that recently changed. There's been a study done that I forget exactly the ramifications of the study, but basically, whenever something is changed, people are drawn to it, even if the change is extremely minor, because it makes people remember that, oh, Hangman's Trick exists in this game. I forgot that was a thing. Or Invocation, Treacherous Crows. Oh, wow, that's actually a perk that exists. I forgot. If you change these things, people will remember it, and it just keeps the game more fresh. And again, a lot of these are just so simple. They're just number changes. You just change the number on it, and suddenly it's a completely usable perk. I don't know. It's just so frustrating. I'm going in circles here because it's just so frustrating having the potential to have the meta shift every month and a half, and they just choose to not do it. Behaviour has so many employees working on this game, and it's not like the kind of thing where people say like, oh, you put 20 programmers in, the game's going to get done 20% faster. That's not how programming works whatsoever. But this is not even programming. You can just have a list that someone makes to send to one programmer who then updates the values of these things. They don't even have to like be 2 people working on the same build and they're overriding each other, and that causes a lot of other issues. Have just one guy, just every month and a half, spend one day looking at underutilized perks and just making the numbers better, and then showing that to a programmer who then implements those things into the game. Like, this is seriously, I don't know what their excuse for not doing this is. There is none. Other than the fact they might be scared of breaking the game or something, which again, I'm not saying quadruple the numbers, just make them a bit better. Just see what happens. And you know what? My final hot take of this video is, I don't even mind if they fuck up the game occasionally. I find that more exciting than them just keeping the same stale meta for years and years and years. You know what? That Crossu PTB where shit was going wild and you couldn't slug people, but there was like crazy other changes. You know what? I was all for that as long as they tweaked a couple of things. They went way overboard, but I'm actually sad that they didn't commit to doing that because it was a crazy mix-up. I was actually excited to see, all right, how am I going to work around these issues now? And it was just something different. I would rather have something different and exciting and broken than stale and stable and balanced. That is my overall opinion on games in general, and that definitely goes for Dead by Daylight as well. So I don't know why they just don't do this. That's the main reason I'm disappointed with patch 10. It's not even Jason. Jason's pretty cool. I actually kind of like Jason. It's just the patch itself for the 10th anniversary is just such a nothing that it's disappointing. So this is just a plea to maybe try improving this in the future. or don't. Whatever. Your game's doing fine. You can ignore me. Bye.